deciphering strategy development with the context of early civil. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. A very good afternoon, everybody. Dr. And thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. So it's I think 2:45 today, 2:45 now. Yeah, it's about almost 5 in Malaysia. Okay, thank you very much. Not much ado, let's go into back today. Now, I think most of you all will have had a very good enlightening discussion this morning. And more importantly, the two presenters spoken about blockchain, mathematical modeling innovation. Now, these are basically tools for 5 products of innovation. But before we can even get started with that, very important to have the right mindset. One of the critical elements in establishing a creative company is to have the right mindset. That means the company must believe that that is the right direction. The company must empathize for the need to have a creative mindset, because innovation just does not, it's not something that you dream about and the next day you present it as a product or service. It is something, it is a dedicated effort. It's a process involved in order to establish the right environment so that we can inculcate innovation within an organization. So before we go on into further, right, let's look at some of the actual steps why innovation has become a core or rather a focal point in business today. If you look at, you can see the slide here, the evolution of innovation. Step one, technology and information becomes commoditized and globalized, meaning to say that technology is made available. Technology has become a commodity by itself, where you can buy technology, you can buy information. And with that, it means that no one country or no one company has exclusive right over those technology. All right. As such, suddenly the advantage of having this faster diminishes. Means that margin goes right. So companies realize that they are not the only one who need things to others, but they will do even cheaper or better or faster. So step two is where the commoditization of product is ship the product. So this is where the element of outsourcing. In the beginning of the 1990s, India received much of business process outsourcing taking place in India. Today, India is no longer conducive environment because much of this business process outsourcing has been taken over by Philippines because it's cheaper. Philippines is compared to India. And then from 1990s onwards, many Western companies, Japanese, even South Korean companies moved to China because China can cheap labor, therefore manufacturing costs become very, very low. So everybody went to China. In fact, by virtue of progression or the movement, migration of manufacturing China helped China to become one of the most developed countries. However, even China creates because China realized that movement towards technology intensive manufacturing has overtaken the cost of labor. That means cost of labor is much more expensive, or labor intensive manufacturing has become much more expensive than technology oriented or technology intensive. So even now in China, the government is pushing all these Chinese companies to move towards technology intensive and moving away from cheap labor. So you can see the process, the gradual process. The next stage is design strategy that begins to replace the Six Sigma as key organizing principle. So what is the Six Sigma? What is the Six Sigma example? Basically, Six Sigma focuses on process. Six Sigma is something that was introduced way back in 1986 by Bill Smith, who used to work for Motorola. And that became the management mantra of the 80s, where everybody was looking at the process. All right. So that's when they realized, all right, the process is no longer critical, but design plays a critical role. So key role is to produce product differentiation, decision making, and understanding consumer experience. So we are moving towards the client base. No longer about what the company can do, but we are looking at what the client wants. So the whole what do you call it, focus of business no longer becomes exclusive to the organization, but becomes inclusive. It becomes an inclusive process where you take into consideration interests of all stakeholders within the business ecosystem. And then step four, this is where creative innovation becomes a key driver. So companies must a new design matrix and create products that consumers unmet and often unmet devices. This is very interesting. Right? When you say unmet, it's currently the it's not met. What is unmet? Means even the consumers or the customers at any level, at any point in the value chain of the business, at the input level, at the process level, at the output level. So when we talk about innovation, many people right, think that innovation means we look at the end product. That's where innovation lies. Not necessarily. For example, if you look at Domino's Pizza, which is also available in India, all right. Now, pizza is pizza, of course, everybody knows that. But what is the uniqueness of Domino's Pizza? Domino's was the first company to provide delivery service, delivery of pizza to homes and offices. They saw a potential where in the US, where they found that lunchtime and so on, it's difficult for people to come out and have lunch, whatever not. So instead of getting customers to come to dine in, they went reverse. That means they would deliver the pizza. So that in itself is innovation. So the process of delivery was Domino Pizza's innovation. So when we and in the case of what I mentioned about Ryanair, the innovation was the business model. The business model was low cost model. So this is very, very critical in trying to decipher what innovation is, because whenever we talk about innovation, everybody has this notion that it means the end product. Not necessarily. So that's why you have to select the right strategy. That means, where do you want to incorporate your innovation? Thirdly, making resource commitments. You cannot push innovation if the organization does not commit resources. You must have the right funds, right networking, right skills in order for you to go into establishing innovative landscape within the organization. So this is very critical. So you can't push people without giving people the right resources. So that means it has to be top down. Fourthly is developing and implementing effective new product processes. Okay. Now, in the past, when we are developing new product, it would be sequential. Sequential conceptualization of idea, and then you move on to evaluating potential, evaluating its cost and benefit, and then developing your prototype, and then developing your marketing strategy, and then moving on to commercialization. So it's sequential. But today, many of, if you want to be innovative, you have to make sure that all these are done simultaneously so that you are able to react to the market quickly. Now, you must understand that global market has become very dynamic, right? And the cycle, business cycle is becoming shorter. Again, why business cycles becoming shorter? Because attention span of customers has become shorter. So today, in the past, a simple thing like your cellular phone. I think all of you would have your mobile phone, your smartphones. In some countries, the turnover of smartphone is as short as 3 months. That means every 3 months, you find that customers or the consumers are changing to newer smartphones. And in most countries, it's about a year, 12 to 16 months, they change over to new smartphones. So this is what's happening. So the attention span of customers has become shorter. So therefore, organization has to react to that. Now, what happens if you don't react? Well, if you don't react, automatically you will become a dinosaur. Company becomes a dinosaur. So you cannot afford that. And today, in a globalized world, all right, where we have access to information, we have a higher disposable income, and therefore you are able to choose. You are able to make the purchase. You are aware of the product, the goods and services that are available. So by virtue of that, a customer can easily make comparisons between product A and product B. So therefore, this puts challenge to the organization to keep the interest of the customers constantly, constantly motivating towards them. That's very important, because out of sight, out of mind. So it becomes a problem. So you have to make sure that you constantly innovate to excite the market. So that's why you have to make sure that the process of developing the process of conceptualizing a product to eventually to eventually commercialize the product has to be shorter. A very good example is what's happening today, the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I used to be in the pharmaceutical industry, which I think when I was introduced, it was mentioned that I was in the pharmaceutical industry. Now, in the past, or in general terms, all right, it takes between 3 to 10 years from the time a drug is conceptualized until it is commercialized. It takes 3 to 10 years. That means they have to do proper clinical trials in order to make sure that the drug is absolutely safe to treat a particular disease. However, today what has happened is, because of the pandemic, within 6 months, all right, within 6 months, Pfizer, even in India, Bharat Pharmaceuticals, AstraZeneca, many other companies have actually come up with a drug to deal with the COVID-19. And all that has been done within 6 months. So that means you have to deal with problems immediately. You can't allow that to manifest and become a bigger problem. Okay. So be mindful of this strategic initiative for successful innovators. Now, having said that, right, organization must create what we call an innovation culture within the organization. That means there must be clarity. There must be a focus that organization need to have that kind of culture within the organization. The thought process must embed innovation. So how do you do that? How do you create that? Of course, many of you have read about Google and Microsoft and Apple and whatever not. And these companies are hub of creative environment, hub of creative environment. I think most of you would have read that, being commerce students. All right, but however, what goes there? What actually happens within Google or Microsoft or Apple or any of those companies? What goes behind? Number one, top executives should be exposed to innovation. They must be given innovation workshops so that they can understand, why top executives? Because they are the decision makers. They are the ones who are going to approve funds. They are the ones who are going to approve direction where the company is going to go. They are the ones who are going to mobilize and deploy resources to different workstations within the organization. So they must be convinced that this is the right direction. So remember, person in the entire value chain must understand the priority of innovation. Why do we need to innovate? And it has to be communicated clearly. That means there must be open communication between top managers, line managers. So again, the system should be more networked rather than hierarchical. Remember that? It should be networked rather than hierarchical. So some of you probably have done management, and I think you know that more and more organizations are becoming leaner, becoming flatter, becoming more networked. That's very critical. The last one here is speakers to expose employees to innovation and authority. So this is what we are exposed to today. There are four speakers today who are talking. Who are sharing their experiences with you, and that is important. The same principle should apply to organizations as well, whereby employees, all right, external speakers, professionals should be brought into the organization to share their experiences so that employees are on the same page. Employees are on the same page on what's happening outside the organization. Because the problem is sometimes the organization becomes too inbred. Inbred means what? It becomes so exclusive, all right? They don't see life beyond that organization. So once in a while, when you bring in outside expertise and what do you call it, professionals, all right, with the sharing, all right, they would see the bigger picture as to which direction that particular industry is moving, what kind of industry to industry collaboration is taking place, what kind of technological innovation, which direction is it going? All these can be taken into consideration. Okay, all right. So innovation strategy spells out management's priorities for new product opportunities. So now we're coming down to end product, meaning number one, set specific new product objectives. Every organization should have clear objectives on what product, what portfolio of products they want to move into. Right. Number two, communicate the role of new product throughout the organization. So everybody must be on the same page. Otherwise, if it's too fragmented, then you're going all over, and that would be counterproductive. All right. Fourthly, define the areas of strategic focus, whether it's product scope, market scope, technologies. One of the things that from my interaction with some of the Indian companies, I find that they are so exclusive. They're looking at it from the Indian context, if that is the case. But you must also understand, though these companies are only serving Indian market, but they fail to see the Indian market is also exposed to goods, foreign goods from another country, whether it's South Korean, whether it's Japanese, whether American or any European products. So Indian customers have a choice whether to buy Indian product or to buy foreign product. And today, you can also, one of the things that you may also realize that goods and services today have become comparable and compatible. Comparable and compatible. When it's comparable and compatible, it means whether it's Indian product or foreign product, you find that it's comparable and compatible. So the next thing is cost. The next thing is quality. So all these have to be taken into account. So if an Indian company just solely focus on a very exclusive Indian market, but at the same time, the customers are exposed to not only Indian product, but also foreign product. So that's where the comparison comes in. So the mindset should always be global, even though that company only serves a domestic market. Okay. The fourth factor would be include longer term discontinuous projects in portfolio along with incremental projects. Okay. So again, all right, you must have a long-term perspective. Where are you going? Which direction are you going? You can't go all over. If you feel that if you're going to go into, if you're going to collaborate specifically between, let's say, the pharmaceutical industry today is working very closely with the agricultural industry, all right, for various, in the past, many drugs were manufactured using, developed using synthetic base. Today, more and more pharmaceutical companies are moving towards organic-based solutions. So you work together. So if that is a direction, fine. You have to be very clear about it. So it's not just about short term, but it also has.
Sorry for the interruption, sir.
Yes.
The slide is actually not moving. It's not
Oh, not
changing.
moving. Oh, sorry. Okay. Is it moving now? Has it moved?
No, sir, no.
No. Oops. Okay.
Yes, sir. Now it's clear.
Now it's clear.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So this is what I said just now. Okay. Sorry for that. You should have alerted me earlier, but no issues. So this is what I said earlier. All right. The strategic.
Sorry for the interruption again, sir.
No issues. All right.
Could you please show it in slideshow?
Slideshow. Okay. No problem. Now can you see?
Slideshow, sir.
This is mine is in slideshow actually. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm almost at the tail end of my presentation, but anyway, right. Okay. So to conclude my my short presentation, all right, I'm just going to give you an example of a highly creative company called 3M. It's an American company, all right. This is how. Can you see this slide? I hope so. All right. This is a 38,000 square foot. What do you call that? Work studio, or they call it the workshop. It's a work studio, and it's called the Incubator for Collaborative Creativity. That means they have dedicated 38,000 square foot merely to create space, workspace, or workstations for various projects under one roof. Okay. Yeah. So and the terminology, or rather the space is called the design hub. All right, and it offers an interactive space for the design team to collaborate and drive creative ideas forward. All right, so this is the idea. That means they have got one space, but then they've got various workstations, and people within each project can actually collaborate with each other in order to develop solutions. All right, and look at their philosophy at 3M. All right, 3M designs at the forefront of creating customer-driven experience. Now, look at that. That means it's no longer about what the company can do, but it's about what the customers want. They are looking at customers' experiences rather than what the company is capable of doing. Okay, so this is very important. Customer-driven experiences. That's number one. Number two, the studio reflects their culture of spontaneous collaboration. The word here is spontaneous collaboration, creativity, and translation of insightful solutions that positively impact the world. You see, it's an American company. They are not just looking at American market, but they're looking at the world market, global, right? World. That means collaboration, spontaneous. That means an idea or an innovation can come at any point of time in their natural interaction between workstations with another. Creativity and translation of insightful solution that positively impact the world. Okay, all right. Let's look at the feature of the design. The design center will integrate multiple features to cultivate creative workspace opportunities, including fast prototyping laboratory, material library, and numerous brand labs. Now look at that, what they have inside the hub. The design hive, they call it. So the design hive allows team members to connect and creatively engage around design concepts with colleagues and business partners. That means there's constant, immediate, networking with people who work in that hive. And the studio environment will act as an incubator for cross-disciplinary projects to bring value to customers through design, ranging from home and office products to automotive materials to digital health care solutions. So if you look at what the industries that 3M are involved, they are involved in automotive, consumer, energy, mining, oil and gas, safety, healthcare, design, construction, commercial solution, communication, electronics, manufacturing, transportation. Look at that. This one single company is providing solutions to so many different industries. That means it is not a company that solely develops product for one industry or one product category, but this one company is providing solutions to what? So many different industries. Now, how is it possible? Because of this collaborative, spontaneous environment that they have. That means the creativity is already embedded into their mindset. Okay, and these are some of the brands you can look up. I mean, just go Google search. You can look up these are. See, look at the number of brands they have. All right, some of it are definitely available in fact, most of it are available in India. All right, you just go Google search 3M brands, and you can see a whole range of products. Now here, if you see, I'm sure all of you are going to get a copy of my slide. If you do, like for example, under automotive, there's 1,392. What does that figure mean? It means that for the automotive industry, they have 1,392 products. For commercial solution, they have 1,120 products. For safety, they have got 1,846 products. Now look at the range of products that this company has created. And all this under one umbrella called the design, Hive. Okay, all right, my time is almost up, all right, but just to share with you something that many of you are probably aware of. Even in India, all right, there are several companies that have, that have embedded creativity as part of their core values. All right, have you heard about Milk Mantra? Now, Milk Mantra is a company that has created a ethical sourcing network, which has increased, all right, farmers' productivity by 31%. Farmers' productivity by 31%. And increase their income by 57% by virtue of sourcing, ethical sourcing of their input. Okay. Number two, I'm sure all of you know about Cipla, another company. All right. And this company, Cipla, has come out with a pediatric drug to deal with AIDS. Pediatric means children, where this drug can be sprinkled on food or drinks of the children. Instead of taking, a tablet or getting a jab or whatever, they've come up with a solution. All right. And then, very interestingly, India is a country with multiple languages, multiple dialects. There's a company called Nikki AI. I don't know whether you can Google search it again. Nikki AI. They have come up with a software where you can convert voice command. You can speak in any language, any Indian language you want. It can convert into a language that the other person can understand. And this Nikki AI platform is used by online, retailers to serve the Indian market, where in different parts of India, you speak different languages, so all these language barriers can be removed. All right. So these are examples of some of the enterprising Indian companies who have embedded creativity as part of their core values. Okay, all right. So I think I guess my time is up. All right. So I hope that this half an hour, about slightly more than half an hour, I've given you an insight. Basically, there's a lot more to talk about. Right? Of course, half an hour won't be sufficient, but I hope that I've given you an insight as to what you should be looking out for. And all of you are going to graduate eventually, and of course, you're going to move on to the workforce. And the expectation of employers have changed today, all right? And more importantly, you yourself have to be resourceful. You yourself have to have that mindset, not just merely adopting existing templates. You should be creating new templates to solve existing problems as well as solving new problems. All right. So by memorizing existing templates, you only become an expert, or rather you become efficient in using that template. But there won't be any avenue for you to spark new ideas. So always remember, whatever job that you do, whatever processes you are involved, try to look for new templates in solving that problem. And that would, of course, eventually lead to newer ideas by creating new templates to solve newer problems. Okay, thank you very much. I will hand over to yeah, to the organizer.
Thank you, sir, for an enriching presentation on managing innovation in creative companies. We will choose the right strategy for innovation and implement effective process. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear participants, we are about to move to the fourth session. Small opportunities are often the beginning of great achievements. A wicked problem is a social or cultural problem that's difficult or impossible to solve. It lacks clarity in both aims and solutions. With equal pleasure, I welcome Dr. Benedict Valentine Arlanandam, Senior Lecturer, VUUP, Sunway College, Malaysia. To introduce him, Dr. Benedict Valentine Arlanandam has been in Malaysian corporate arena for more than 2 decades, spanning from manufacturing, education, biotechnology, and banking industry. In the academic field, he has close to 11 years of experience conducting lectures and seminars. From a humble beginning, Dr. Benedict completed his degree from the United Kingdom and, by God's grace, completed his master in finance from Australia while working in the corporate sector. While serving as an invited speaker with the University of Syracuse MBA visit to Malaysia, Dr. Benedict identified his calling in the field of academics. Hence, he embarked upon his Doctor of Philosophy with University Putra Malaysia, Putra Business School. While serving with a local bank in the capacity of a head of department, Dr. Benedict completed his PhD. Dr. Benedict now serves as a senior lecturer with the Sunway Education Group in Selangor, Malaysia. Apart from these publications, Dr. Benedict has also co-authored several manuals on finance, planning, conducted talks on financial management and taxation in several institutions of higher learning in Malaysia. He also presents papers in the international conferences. In 2017, he was one of the recipients of the Harvard Travel Grant awarded by Jeffrey Chair Institute of Southeast Asia with Harvard University, Boston, USA. He is also a member of Athena, Athens Institute of Education and Research, Greece. Dr. Benedict possesses strong leadership, excellent problem solving skills, effective team building, know how, and good project management attributes. He has special interest in financial management, financial literacy, corporate governance or ethics, corporate anthropology, economic sustainability, leadership, and corporate social responsibility. We welcome you, sir. I now hand over this session to Dr. Benedict Valentine Arulanandam.
Right. Thank you very much, MC. And also, can you hear me clearly? according to Oxford, is a quality of being evil or morally wrong, a mental disregard for justice, righteousness, truth, honor, depravity, evil in thought and life. We have wicked problems now, wicked challenges. And you have these challenges are so connected. There is no one solution. Like, for example, when COVID-19 hit in March last year, everyone was caught by surprise. Even industries did not know what to do. Although they were preparing themselves for various challenges, but it seems they were not prepared when it came to COVID. Even our pattern of work has to change. Even our minds, mindset has to change. Our mindfulness we have to gain to realize that we are in a different scenario. The way we think, the way we act has to change because we're no longer working in the office but we are working at home, and this means other challenges, and they don't seem to be any solution that is able to solve this issue. Even now with the vaccine coming out, we really do not know whether what will happen next. I'm from the banking line as well, and previously before joining the academic, even my banking friends are telling me now they can't even do a forecast for 1 month because we do not know what is going to happen even tomorrow. Likewise, what about having a forecast for 5 years? It's just all guesswork. So you notice that the social complexity is now getting more and more confusing. Even for that matter, now with Google and with various softwares, you can now communicate to the entire world, and you can talk to somebody that you have never met before. And today, even the young graduates now, after you guys finish your degree program, you'll be going out to the world, and you'll find that if the employer will look at your LinkedIn account, they will look at your Facebook, they'll look at your uh, Instagram to get a glimpse of you even before you go for your interview. That's how complex things are. And you notice that according to Cochran, Knight, and Ritchell and Weber, right? And you notice even Beckham in 2017 defined wicked problems as those that require you to think of all possible solutions before you can even understand what is the problem. And you find that, like what the previous speaker says, Mr. Ravi, saying that we got to now look at the entire issue and come up with quick solution. The solutions has to be quick and effective. You got to look at the whole logistics. You got to look at the entire supply chain, and then you notice that it's no more trial and error. It's no more looking at the traditional way we solve problems. We can't look at the traditional way of having design thinking. Now, when the current graduates go out to work, you find that you're going to have new challenges you haven't studied in classroom, challenges you have not encountered before. So what do you do? Now, this means that we got to now change our wavelength of thinking. Our mindset have to change. The way we approach issues got to look at a network kind of view rather than a silo view. I'm sure you have heard the word silo thinking, and even next time when you go to work, there will be a organization that are still on the silo mode. They like to work on their own and everything is silos, but actually it's not. Peter Senge of MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, says of self-organization. What does it mean? It means breaking from your silos. You no more look at departmentalization. You're looking at an entire network of the organization. Ecosystems has to change. When you look at wicked problems, ecosystem has to change. You can't be thinking on a traditional mode. It's not that traditional mode is not effective, but it was effective previously, maybe 50 years ago. But now things are different. You got to use a different kind of solutions, where solutions that are based on network, solutions that are based on the present, and solutions that are based towards what does the actual issue and how connected is the issue. For example, these days we find that it's more towards C to B business model rather than B to C business model. Business to consumer is now phasing away, and now you find consumer to business. In other words, what does the consumer want? That is what is important. Like, for example, I'll be speaking to some universities. I tell them, can you change your model now? Can you look at what is the particular student wants and then redesign? But of course, everybody gets a bit weird when we say that, because they said, look, that means we have to change so much, and that we are also exposed to regulatory challenges. In other words, the entire chain has to now look into remobilizing and rethinking their approach. The whole ecosystem, even regulators have to now be revisit their methodology of approving courses. Why? Because the ecosystem now is different. For example, can you do a combination of economics and physics? Most of the institutions of the world you can't. But in MIT you can. You have a bachelor's of econophysics, where you find that there's a combination. And you find, why is that made? Because there is a demand by the customer. Students wants to know about economics and physics together, combined. I did my research in corporate governance using quantum science, because you find that the very famous quantum scientist Henry Stapp says that there is a connection between corporate governance, how the thinking pattern of the board members got to do with quantum science, how the neurons act in order to make good decisions and bad decisions. You have things like the hypothalamus or amygdala connecting to the cerebellum of your brain to make decisions. So there is a greater connectivity. For example, if you have a board member who did some unethical issues 20 years ago, and today he is sitting in the board, that unethical practice would be buried in his subconscious mind, and it will be reignited when a decision has to be made in the board. It'll be a recollection of that, because the hypothalamus recollects and said, look, 20 years ago, this was the wrong decision that you made. There was an unethical decision. So therefore, you notice that it has to do with very much on a network of issues. And we are faced with COVID-19, we are faced with such kind of greater complexity. So what does it mean? Higher complexity means higher wickedness. That means to say, even the years to come, we are going to face many, many problems that are so intertwined, that are so connected network in terms of network, where you find there's no single solution. There's no single solution that is just tied up in a box and said, this is the solution. No, we got to look at the entire supply chain, entire logistic, entire process, even for that matter, to look at each individual process to solve that particular problem. I know it seems to be a mouthful, it seems to be an insurmountable task. And you are young graduates, you're going to work, and you'll be wondering, boy, what is happening, man? I thought I can just solve this issue. My boss asked me to do something. I thought I can solve it, but it looks like this is more than my capabilities. So the whole ecosystem, according to Sarkar and Kotler in 2019, they came up with a complex issue, not only in terms of war, in terms of income equality, in terms of climate change, in terms of environment issue, in terms all connected. You see the arrows going on here. All the arrows here are basically connected. Everything is connected. So in a connected issue or challenge or problem, we can't use traditional method, because traditional method is very much contained. So here we are using a traditional method to solve a complex problem. We are using a traditional answer to address this complex problem. That's the reason there's a mismatch. There is a mismatch. There is a mismatch giving rise here. And you find that the whole ecosystem are very much an adaptive system, self-organizing. Like for example, we do not bother about the climate. We start chopping down trees and building condominiums and factories. And what happened now? It is connected. Now the climate reacts. We have unusual patterns of flooding. We have unusual patterns of heat. We have unusual patterns of cyclones because the system reacts. Why the system reacts? Because it is connected. Everything is connected. It is connected. We are living in a connected, although while we do not realize it, we may not realize it, but the environment, the whole ecological system, the whole creation is connected. And here we are trying to solve organizational issue because, and everybody tells us to think out of the box, out of the box, but the ecosystem in our organization does not allow us to think out of the box. A good example, how can lecturers be involved in research when you're giving the lecturers themselves 20 to 25 hours a week to teach? It is impossible. And then here you are in one of the key performance index to say that you got to do research, you got to think out of the box. But how can they think out of the box? Because the ecosystem does not allow them to think out of the box. It's a simple issue. And yet we find that organizations don't want to change, although they encourage everyone to be very much innovative. Just now, even just to recollect what the previous speaker said, Mr. Ravi, very well said, whereby the organization must ensure such training of creativity with the top management. The top management must know what is going on so that they can exercise, and so that the whole organization is able to adapt, to move, like as the ecosystem moves, their whole organization can be able to be sustainable. And that is what sustainability is. Sustainability is to have an ecosystem within that can tally with the external ecosystem. In other words, if there's a next COVID coming, COVID 2.0, right? We never know, although we don't want it to come. But what if there is a COVID 2.0 in the coming years? Are we going to shut down again? Are we going to restrict traveling? Are we going to, again, issues with tourism and airlines? Are we going to have the same issue again? So are we going to say, look, this time the organization can work out a solution because we have done this in the past and we are able to be self-organized. We understand the ecosystem. We know this wicked problem has a wicked solution. And you notice that we still have this decoupling decisions where we always work in a silo. Going back to the silo, actually, it is almost a 500-year-old philosophy by Descartes. Descartes starts off together with Newton, starts off on departmentalizing. That's what you find in the organization today. You have purchasing department, you have the human resource department, you have accounts department, you have all the departments. This departmentalization goes back almost 500 years ago, where Descartes says we got to divide. When we divide, we manage well. But today, that kind of concept, that kind of philosophy doesn't really work because the situation is getting more complex, more wicked, more connected. So how can we now divide when everything is connected? So what can young professionals do when you go out and work? Maybe in a couple of months or couple of years after finishing your graduate degree, and you're so happy and you're walking on clouds, what can you do as a young professional? Now, this is a challenging task. I compared to myself many years back, I find that the challenges which I face is nothing during the time of Russia, during the uh, communism rule in the 1920s and 1930s, 1940s and 50s, you notice that they were very much suppressed. So creativity cannot come. Only a certain members of the elite force can be creative. Otherwise, you don't have creative. That's the reason you find that Russian machines are very much out of date at that time, even at that time. Why? Because suppression curtails your creativity. Creativity only happens when there's freedom. In our whole mind, we have thoughts in our mind. And what are the sources in our thoughts? Because when we talk about wicked challenges, wicked problems, our mindset has to change, right? There are about 100 billion neurons in our brain with close to 12,000 to 50,000 thoughts per day, depending on your age. Depending on your age. And not all are processed. It's estimated that the thoughts, information in the brain travels about 268 miles per hour. Wow, that is really very fast, isn't it? First of all, the science behind it. The science behind it. Then you find that the five senses, all our five senses contribute to our thoughts pattern. All our five senses contribute to our thought pattern. So our thought pattern, not only in terms of what we are very much educated, but it also comes to our value system. It comes to our culture, to our family background, to our experiences. We all go through experiences. I'm sure some of you will also remember what you did when you're 5 years old, right? That is your thought. That is buried in your subconscious mind. So their thought pattern, these thought patterns dictate who you are. Some of us grew up in an atmosphere of fear. Some of us grew up in an atmosphere of abuse. So when it comes to changing our mindset to address wicked problems, we can't. We get sort of tongue-tied. We can't think any longer. Why? Because the idea of abuse comes into our mind. The idea of intimidation comes to our mind. And we have this grasshopper mentality to say that, no, I can't do. No, I want to resign. No, I can't do. No, I want to leave this family. No, I want to do this. I want to do everything that you want to do is opposite. Self-talk, right? Even when sometimes we talk to ourselves, it doesn't matter. You are not crazy, but actually you are developing your thought pattern. Specific event in our lives, right? The first time that we entered a sports competition, maybe the first time we entered into a speech contest, the first time, our first job in our lives, right? So all these are specific events that adds on to our thought pattern. Spiritual thoughts, right? What our spiritual fathers have said, right? And also our worldview. And how does this worldview come about? The way we see the world. Some of us see the world as only our small little village, or we see the world as only what do you call Coimbatore. We don't see the world outside Coimbatore. Some of us see the way we are is that, look, I'm going to get myself a good job, then I'm going to get married, and I'm going to settle down and buy one or two houses and have a small family and live happily ever after. Right. And many of us know that if you ask your mom and dad or your grandfather or your uncle and aunties, they will tell you many a times it doesn't work that way because we have other issues that come into our path. So therefore, your worldview comprises of your culture, your background, your upbringing, right? That's your worldview. I know a father one day came and told me, he's a lorry driver and he's a truck driver, and he's telling me that I asked him, what do you want your son to be? Do you have any aspirations for him? And he said, oh, I want my son to be a lorry driver as well, a truck driver as well. So I was very perplexed. I was surprised. And I asked him, don't you want your son to be, at least a owner of a few lorries, a few trucks? So that is his worldview. So our worldview can stop us from progressing. Our worldview can stop us in finding solutions in our wicked problems, wicked challenges. Our worldview can stop us from doing so many things in our lives to progress our lives. But because our worldview is so myopic, is so narrowed down, we just can't think outside than what we are, that we know. The worldview. What is your worldview today, boys and girls? What is your worldview? I always tell my students, you are more than what you think. And I always tell my students, I'm not teaching students, I'm teaching leaders. Because you are a leader in any capacity. You will be a leader worldview. Your worldview will depend those around you, because basically we are spiritual being, so our thought patterns will rub off each other. And social interaction, who are your friends? Who are your people that you mix with? That itself will contribute to our thought pattern. I know some students who only talks about movies. So well, that is because their friends also talk about movies. So that is their worldview, that is their thought pattern. That's what comes to mind. So what today's youth need to do, today's young professional, you must have clear vision, clarity. You must be able to be recipient of new ideas rather than repulsive. You got to constantly upskill yourself. Not only looking at one degree is enough, that's it, until I reach my retirement. No, you got to upskill yourself. You got to be bold to accept challenges, new assignments. You got to be innovative, and innovative means transformational, innovative and innovation, but and not incremental. That means you make, for example, earlier you were at this level, now you have gone to a next level. That is an incremental. But a total transformation, the way how you think, the way how you behave, the way how you accept new challenges and to create greater innovative ideas, even in processes like just now the earlier speaker says, it's not the end product, it's the whole processes. What are you going to do to ensure that you are very much innovative driven? The transformational effect. The transformational effect. Active engagement. Don't be in a silo. You got to actively engage, be connected with everyone, be connected with people. Of course, some people just can't connect with you in terms of chemistry. We all know that, right? So connect with people who can be able to give you ideas. People will be able to share with you, able to give you insights. Just because they are of a different structure or different class, that doesn't mean they are not able to contribute to your experience. They can. Be humble in whatever approach that you do. Because in this wicked world, in these wicked issues, wicked problems that we face, humility is the one that can burst forth with ideas. Boundary spending. Don't have a boundary in your thinking, boundary in your, you got to be flexible. You got to be flexible. And embrace change. We got to understand change is something constant. Change will happen. In fact, change is already happening every day. Every day there is technological change. There is different patterns of business model being changed. You find that companies are doing down new things. Even research have shown that during COVID, there are more new businesses that sprang up compared to pre-COVID. Why? Because this COVID actually, although we know one part of it is very sad, many people have died, but the other part of it, it has driven creativity to the next level. Recognize toxicity. Know areas that are poisonous. You know it will destroy your vision, destroy your goal. And that's where sometimes we are bound culturally to embrace all this and say, never mind, you know, that's my fate. Some people say, that's my fate. No. Why? Because to me, I always believe that you can always come out because you are the decision maker. You are an adult. You are a decision maker, whether you want to embrace toxicity or not. So why you want to embrace something that will spoil your vision your ability to grow even further, and then and trying to hinder yourself. And after 10, 20 years down the line, you live with regret. You live with regret. Why? Because you have embraced something that destroyed your vision. Whenever I pass by a graveyard, my children will be in, and I always tell my children in the car, I said, uh, there are many dreams that are buried, many visions that are buried in this piece of land. Many people died at their last breath, not fulfilling the vision, the destiny to which they are called. And you got to, not only that, you got to move on, be constant learners and meta learning. What do you mean meta learning? Learn in a way that will activate your deep thinking. This is what is an issue here in the entire world system. We lack deep thinking. We don't think deep enough because wicked problems requires deep thinking. Wicked problems requires deep thinking. We don't think deep enough. We say, okay, this is the problem, this is the issue. Okay, that's it. This is our solution. That's it. We don't think deeper. We don't think how it's going to be affecting others around us. We don't think that how it's going to affect in the future. We don't think deep. And that is the issue. We cannot solve wicked problems if we don't think deep. We only think shallow, we are not going to solve it. Think deep. And deep thinking also means to see yourself, where will you be in the next 20 years? Where will you be in the next 30 years? I always tell my students, 70% of your battle is in the mind. 70% of your battle is in the mind. Now that is for young professionals. What about organization? What must organization do in the issue where to strike opportunities in wicked problems? What can organization do? There is many kinds of organization today, right? There are the mega ones and the minor ones. Adaptive, to have an adaptive system to embrace the situation, not to, you see, what surprises me in this COVID, huge companies, public listed companies can close down within 3 months after COVID. Just 3 months after the declaration of COVID. Just 3 months. And I ask, your balance sheet and your income statement shows that the retained earning. Your balance sheet shows there's a retained earning. So what happened to your huge retained earnings? I know that is only a book for. That means your cash flow looks so great, and yet they can't survive for 3 months. We are looking at public listed companies, and that surprises me. How come? That means to say that they are just planting cosmetics in their books. They are basically weak in terms of cash management. They can't even meet overheads, and they are retrenching just 3 months. In Malaysia, it was declared on 18th of March 2020, the pandemic. And since then, 3 months, company closed down, retrenchment. So what is happening? And the company is not new. The company is basically 20 years old. And here you are, retrenched. Decision makings are entrenched with bureaucracy within the companies, within organization. There's no flexibility. Oh, we did that 30 years ago, and that helped us all this while to gain our bottom line. Why are you trying to change things? Because that particular decision that you did 30 years ago doesn't apply today. It does not help us today. Now the whole dynamics have changed. An example is online learning. Do you know many institutions are not embarking on online learning? They are saying, let us wait for post-COVID. All our students will come back and we can have back to face-to-face. Now, this is an opportunity for you to increase your revenue stream by having online programs. That is an opportunity. All you have to do is restructure it and perhaps use a block mode basis. That means subject by subject. You can accumulate the subject and the person gets a degree. So that is the flexibility that I'm saying about. But institutions today don't want to do it. No, we are waiting for post-COVID so that everybody can come back and we are back to face-to-face. This is an opportunity for you to develop new streams of revenues. Because even though post-COVID they come back, you can still have capturing the entire world with online learning. And you'll find that the whole idea of geographical setting, institutional hierarchy, cultural setting has contributed to the complexity. And the greater complexity grows, which is growing now with blockchain technology and fintech, cryptos and all that coming in, it has created greater complexity whereby it will now sadly have greater wicked problems. And wicked problems is you can't use that method that you're using yesterday. You got to now think afresh. So as organization today have to ensure that there is constant solutions, revisit processes constantly, look at issues constantly, and it must be on a constant basis. New ways of attracting new untapped areas of the market, and at the same time to ensure that their processes are redesigned. Various curriculum is redesigned, and I'm very happy to be in one of the academic board of Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, because every time the board sits, we create new things, new areas, how to improve the syllabus so that the students will be very much employable. And this is a wonderful thing. Why? Because there's a constant change. And I'm so happy to be one of the members of the academic board of Sri Ramakrishna College. And they're building the ecosystem. There's no more such thing as leadership of control, but basically a leadership of influence. Connectivity, not only connected, hyper connected, constantly connected, like the neurons in the brain, constantly connected. What is happening around? What is happening to competitors? What is happening to the market movers? How are the behavior pattern of the people? Now you see banks are getting worried because of fintech. Banks are getting worried because of crowdfunding, because people are now able to get loans outside the banking system with better interest, right? These are all legal fintech firms. Legal fintech firms. Goals, clarity of goals, transparency, to be very much open. That's one thing about good thing about blockchain. A blockchain creates transparency. And there's some quarters are refusing to adopt blockchain because they want to basically hide something. As by right, blockchain helps in transparency. The clarity of goals. The goals must be made clear in every part of the organization, from the highest to the lowest. Mindset change, that means from the top right onto everyone, there must be a mindset change. No point voicing out mindset when we are not practicing mindset change. Design thinking and innovation must be in terms of processes. There must be a constant change that is being made. Of course, sometimes it is very tedious, when you have change, you have to, to redo the SOP and things like that. But they're not saying change for the sake of changing. Change to embrace the changes that is happening in the external. The way we operate, to reassess frequently how organization change, how the organization process, how does organization make decision making. Do we still have the same invoicing system in paper? Can we actually use it saving in the cloud? So that means we have a paperless approach. Although this has been voiced out about 20 years ago, paperless, but till today I see organizations still using paper. I'm sure in India is also the same. But here we scream and shout, oh, paperless, paperless, paperless. But what happened? We're still using paper. So what happened? There's no design thinking, there's no innovation, there's no change. Because we are not helping the system. We are not saving the trees. We're still chopping down the trees. Exercising non-linear approaches. That means we can't use linearity thinking. What is linearity thinking? Linearity thinking is a traditional way of thinking. If you have this problem, you have this solution. Solution A for problem A. But in network wicked problems, you cannot have linearity approach. You have only non-linear. Then you have only have non-linear. And you also have the area where you find that this non-linear approach will definitely benefit the area of wicked issues. Inclusivity, embracing diversity and embracing inclusivity in every strata, and to be sensitive to culture and sensitive to the people around, sensitive to various philosophical understanding. So companies must be sensitive to even the environment, even to the neighbors in which the company is located. I remember there's one company about they are actually manufacturing, and they emit smoke. And this smoke is certified by the DOE, Department of Environment. But a smoke is a smoke. Whether it is certified or not, a smoke is a smoke. And smoke is hazardous for health. Until the neighborhood had to petition, and finally the government had to relocate them. Because you've got to have sensitivity. Organization today lack sensitivity. And that's the reason why they cannot solve bigger problems. They close down when there's an issue. COVID-19 came, closed down. COVID-19 came, retrenched. Because it's easy to cut costs and to find new streams of revenue, is it? That's what I get very sometimes annoyed, where organizations trying to cut costs but not thinking of new revenue streams. Invest in the right technology. At the same time, recognize minor signals. What are the signals? What are the signals does your company say? You know, the problem with particular organizations today is they disregard minor signals. When Barings Bank, before it closed down, the oldest bank at that time, 100 over years old, British bank, when Rick Nielsen, the derivatives trader, started to make laws, they refused to accept that as a signal. And what happened? The laws continued until the whole bank closed down. 100 over year old bank just closed down. Why? Because they refuse to recognize signals. If your employees are having some grudges, if your employees are complaining on something, attend to it. Why? Maybe because they don't understand, or they don't like, or certain things are wrong that's going on. Understand it, approach it. Don't push it under the carpet and say, no, you know, that's not for us. Constant improvement. Now, that comes to my end of my session. Thank you very, very much. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer. And I hope you find this sharing very helpful. And I have given a copy to Sri Ramakrishna College. You can use it, and perhaps you can develop further on it. And once again, thank you very much for Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you very much for having me, and thank you. Over to you, MC.
Thank you, sir. Your inspirational thoughts was indeed a great one. You got us all the story of Charles. The speech was in fact quick and effective. Thank you, sir. Dear participants, we have come to the end of the virtual workshop. Hope all of you all had a fruitful session and made this day productive. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. I now invite Dr. N. Uma, Head PG and Research Department of Mathematics, to render the word of thanks.
Good, happy evening to all. I, Dr. N. Ma, Head Department of PG and Research Department of Mathematics, deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. First and foremost, I extend my sincere thanks to all our resource persons. On behalf of my college, School of Commerce and School of Science and Humanities, I'm very heartily grateful to Dr. Rajashekaran, Head, School of Mathematics, APU Malaysia, Dr. Christopher, Assistant Professor, Pest University, Bangalore, Dr. Rabi Badman, Senior Lecturer, School of Business, Health University, Malaysia, and Dr. Benedict Valentine Arulanandam, Senior Lecturer, PUUP, Sunway College, Malaysia, for sharing their knowledge and opinions with us in today's workshop. All your thoughts have enlightened our minds and shown us a new path. Thank you all research persons once again. We extend our gratitude thanks to our management, and we are grateful to our principal, Dr. B.L. Shivakumar, for his support, vision, and commitment. Thank you, sir. I thank our Vice Principal, Dr. S. Deena, for her guidance, and I owe my special gratitude to our Dean, Dr. Shanmuhananda Vadivel, School of Commerce, and our Dean, Dr. Hannah Revati F., School of Science and Humanities, for their gracious presence in this function. My heartfelt thanks to the heads of various departments and faculty members of all the departments. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. G. Akila, Head, Department of BCom Commerce with Accounting and Finance, for organizing this resourceful workshop for the benefit of the students. I owe my gratitude to the members of BCom end of department and mathematics department who have worked hard to ensure that this occasion becomes a memorable one. I also thank all the young moderators of today's functions and the members who have worked behind the screen. Last but not least, I thank all the participants for their cooperation in making this function a resounding success. Once again, I thank you all. Have a good day. Thank you all.
I take utmost honor to thank each and every one of you who have contributed their efforts to make this virtual workshop a resounding success. Hope we all will utilize the components we all have grasped through the beneficent session, wishing all our dear participants to reach greater heights by learning and growing. Thank you all once again.